off,
Dude,
and we'll
we're
have him
going
do
live,
the
guys.
we'll have him do the fucking Chewbacca roar on the way out. Just clear the pathway.
That's gonna be the best, man. I've got one of those hoverboards, with the wheels, that's like you lean forward and lean back that the
Yeah.
kids were all crazy about a few years ago. And I mean, I'm thinking about bringing it, but I mean, Yeti's a big dude. And so, the last thing we want to do is have to, medevac that dude out of there if he falls and
Hilarious.
breaks his ass, man. We don't want that to happen to the guy. So, I don't know if we have any combat medics in the group. I'm sure we've got more than a couple. I mean, I was, combat lifesaver. So, whatever that means, I know how to give someone an IV if they're hungover. So,
Yeah, but you don't
that's
know how to
pretty helpful.
bandage up a slopey roof injury. So
Those slopey roof injuries are the worst, man. You need
That's some
special skills
specialized
for that.
stuff right there. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
there's
the whole certification.
Once you get a certified as a corpsman, there's actually additional course that only the very, very best corpsmen go to for slopey roofs.
slopey roofs is one of them.
Slopey roof injuries. Yeah. It's a thing.
Man, it's insane.
I
What a
don't know
week.
about you guys, but I love this timeline. I think it's hilarious.
Oh, it is the wildest thing ever, man. It's just so bizarre.
So much craziness.
It is really, really a weird time to be alive, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
And I think this is just a start. I think
Yeah.
this is just the start of the craziness for the next 6 months.
I think it's the start of the craziness for like the next decade.
Mm.
Probably.
It's
I
a
think it's
wild
gonna be
time.
10 years, and then things are gonna start to cool down.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. It's like when that omelet is in the bowl, man, you're not putting it back in the shell. It's
Right.
kind of, that's what it
It's
feels
it's
like.
mixing. It's mixing time, right?
Yeah. When they pierced Homeboy's ear, it's like, well, all right, man, things are going to be different now again. It's
Dang,
one of
he's
those
gonna-
moments,
Sponsored by
How-
players.
How close did we come? Like I saw some people saying, we were a half inch or a quarter inch or whatever, a couple degrees of head tilt away from a civil war. Do you think that's hyperbole?
Okay.
I'd say we're like half a breath of trigger squeeze away.
So on the shot, the shot was really close. I mean, you got two things, right? You got the shot and then you got the result, right? So
Yeah.
the shot, yeah. If he hadn't tilted his head, they would have taken out his brainstem, and the guy would have had it. That photographer would have had it beautifully.
You would have had that
Um,
shot.
He would have had.
You
You
that
know
shot
what's crazy is he was there ready with that high speed
with
camera.
that. Yes.
Okay, there's some stuff to talk about there. We're not going to do it right at this
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, there's
The
We're not gonna-
the pull and the temptation is so hard to fight.
But our guest tonight is Alex Fetsky. You guys excited for that? Who's excited for Alex Fetsky?
Yep.
Woo!
Yep.
Mike's
Pretty
looking at me
funny.
like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" Svetsky called in sick.
Ah,
So if you were excited for Alex Svetsky,
Can't blame him either though. Like
Next
you're
time.
sounding like you're dying. Like, best
Yeah,
to
he
just
didn't
stay
sound
on.
good. Yeah, he didn't.
he's
sound
got to
good.
save it up, man. Is
So
he
God
going to
bless
be
that
out there?
guy. Hope he feels better. What?
Is
Is
he
he going to
going to be
Nashville?
up there? Yeah.
I would
Nashville?
assume.
Yeah.
I haven't seen
Letsky?
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
I would
know.
assume so because he's got his book, like he's trying to market and everything.
Yeah,
Seems
you would
like he
think.
would be there.
You would think.
Guess we'll find out.
Well, we'll circle back to that. he'll be on at some point for sure.
Yeah.
Yep. He's got some interesting stuff, man. I'm actually pretty curious about his Bushido book coming out. So
Yeah.
Did you watch the video? He's
Mm-mm.
got like he's got
good
like a preview kind of video. You should go check it out. I'll send it to you. It's really good. For those of you who have
Nice.
never seen it, go like hunt for this thing. But it's short. It's like a trailer kind of a video, but it talks a lot about the stuff that we talk about a lot, which is bizarre because it's like he doesn't come from our world, right? But he's seeing how humanity has to re-embrace the warrior virtues, basically.
He's not wrong.
Not wrong.
It's
Honor.
part of the pendulum swing, right?
Yep. Honor, respect.
Society has been getting away from it for a long time, and people are starting to realize, oh, we kind of need these types of men and these types of values plugged back into society again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is, I mean, true abundance will probably never ever happen. We're always going to struggle against something, even if
Mhm.
it's in ourselves or against other people or if against nature, whatever. We're always going to struggle. And if we
Lizards.
don't have that warrior attitude, that warrior spirit, you're going to get crushed.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it like seems like on my end, like with the conversations I've had with people my entire life, like people tend to have, at least in Western develop, or I'll just say in America, because that's the majority of my experience. Seems like a lot of people have this like worldview or belief system that like there are finish lines that you cross where you don't have to like keep fighting. It's like, have you like looked at the animal kingdom or how nature operates? Like there, like the fighting doesn't stop until you stop breathing. Like
Yeah,
that's it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think people that don't have experience to like the whole like warrior training or soldiering and all that stuff, they like it like life going forward, like into the future, and that exhausts them or terrifies them or both. And it's like there's nothing you can do about it. So you either like build yourself up and develop the skills and the capabilities to tolerate it and succeed, or you don't, and you just kind of wait for your time, I guess. Which I'm not waiting for my time. I'm not doing that. I don't know about you guys.
I agree, man. I mean, to be alive is to fight. It's just how it
Yeah.
works. You know, I mean, from the moment we're conceived, their gravity is already working on us on a physical level, and it always is until finally the earth swallows us up. So you better fight against that bitch as long as you can.
That's right.
How's that
So
for uplifting, huh?
We've had a lot of years of masculinity is toxic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've heard that for a while now.
Yeah.
And for the most part, I think the warriors pretty much, guys like they don't care. They're like, "Don't give a crap. I'm gonna go do my thing, live my life, just leave me alone." Right?
Yeah.
Oh, hi. Whoever that was. We're at that point now where guys are guys who normally wouldn't say a word, just leave us alone. We're gonna go live our life. I don't care if you think masculinity is toxic or not, like whatever. But those
right.
guys are at this point starting to stand up. We need it. We need that to happen.
We do. We're starting to experience those negative consequences of that sort of thing being absent from our society, and people are wondering why.
Well, you can't abdicate. Like it's like a king abdicating the throne. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you just walk away and just like the kingdom is going to go to shit pretty quick,
Yep.
right? And that's what's happened. I think is guys have walked away, or not really walked away, but just been quiet. Sat down, not voiced what they should have voiced. Maybe not that I'm blaming anybody, but
Well, to be fair too, though, like I would probably say that they were probably wise in not necessarily fighting, because there's an efficiency of effort, like the way I think about it. Like, are you gonna be the first one like into the gap to start fighting against the flood, or are you gonna wait till momentum starts to shift and it's more in your favor and like your efforts are more efficiently applied to like leverage and everything? That's what it feels like to me, because if we were to like be having this conversation like even 5 years ago, we would have been canceled by so many people. We would have been buried underneath all the people that were saying that we're wrong, and then somebody would have come up and like said the same thing at the perfect time, and then off to the races.
That was actually one of the topics I was thinking about tonight. Is just some of the trends that are changing. Like you just said, 5 years ago, certain words you couldn't say, certain things you couldn't do. It was just cancel culture was just strong.
Yeah.
And now we're pendulum swinging away from that, and now it's it seems like there's some common sense coming out. And I've been telling you, just this week there's a lot of big changes going on.
Let's talk about our sponsors, and then we'll kick this thing off. There's a lot to talk about tonight.
Right.
So First of all, I know a lot of you are OPSEC minded. If you're watching this show, you're probably OPSEC minded. If you don't know what OPSEC is, it stands for Operational Security. You ever consider how much information is stored on your phone? Personal data, bank account info, access to your two-factor authentication. All the apps that you've got on there are providing data that tells a story about you all the time. That's why we're teaming up with SLNT, Silent. SLNT offers an efficient and easy solution to protect your location and personal data. Their Faraday products block all incoming and outgoing signals so nobody can get their hands on your information. Simply place your device inside, close the sleeve, and that's it. You're off the grid, untrackable, safe from unauthorized access. Hardware wallets, by the way, are also mission critical gear. If you're a Bitcoiner, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, talk to us. You probably need to. It's crucial to keep them safe from hackers and events like EMPs, solar flares, so on and so forth. SLNT's Faraday bags provide an extra layer of protection for your Bitcoin. Go to Silent today, slnt.com. That's slnt.com/BTZVets. You get 15% off. Free shipping on qualifying orders. Again, slnt.com/BTCVets. Also, I want to shout out Black Sheep Ammo. Those guys have agreed to provide us a stack of ammo for our range day on the 25th. Thank you very much. These guys are awesome. Veteran-owned company manufacturing American-made goods for dedicated sportsmen and those ready to defend. They're great. Go check them out. They've given us a bunch of swag to give away, by the way. So if you're going to be in Nashville, swing by the Bitcoin Veterans Citadel while supplies last. We're going to be giving away stuff, hats, and all that other kind of stuff. You can also use Bitcoin 10 for 10% off. So thank you to our sponsors. And with that, I think we're ready.
Intro.
Welcome to Bitcoin Veterans. Good evening, everyone. We are Bitcoiners. We are veterans. We do this every week on Thursday nights, usually on Thursday nights. We talk about Bitcoin. We talk about current events. We talk about geopolitics. We have lots of great guests that come on here sharing incredible ideas about philosophy, monetary issues, all of the things that matter to us today. My name's Alex Danzig. I'm going to be your main host tonight, standing in for Shane Hazel, who's out there spending some time with his family. He's an amazing family guy, by the way. Met his family. They're all amazing. Amazing wife.
Yep.
You know what? There's a saying. You can tell a lot about a person by the way their kids act.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He's got some of the most respectful kids you would ever meet, and they've got great attitudes. So anyway, I'm here tonight with Gabe Lord. We've got Mike Hobart. We've got Randy Kelly. Randy, by the way, runs a bunch of stuff for Bitcoin veterans. I'm not going to get too much into the details of what that is, but I'll just put it like this. He's a former Navy SEAL sniper. He did a bunch of intel stuff in the past, and he helps us collate information and figure stuff out, things that are going on in the world. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that tonight because, man, there is some weird things happening in the world today.
What a week.
What a week it has been, no?
Good Lord.
Absolutely.
Where to even start? For those of you who don't know, I don't know that there's anybody who doesn't know about this by now, but I think it was last Saturday, right? That this went down.
Mhm.
Last Saturday, President Trump was doing a rally. I think it was in Pennsylvania, if I'm not mistaken.
Butler,
Pennsylvania. Assassination attempt. Barely walked away with his life. Was extremely close. My understanding is a couple of degrees of angle turn of his head. he would not be with us any longer. And what a strange situation that would be.
Just
Dude.
wild, man. Yeah.
The-
and I want to point
the-
something out. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Gabe.
I was just going to say, man, it felt like as soon as it happened, I don't know like what type of monitoring we have going on within our Bitcoin veterans community, but I mean, somebody posted it in one of our chats and it was like instantaneously after it happened. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, I was with a group of people and like, you guys heard about this? And I was like, nah, what the hell are you talking about? I mean, it wasn't even on the damn, mainstream media yet. And I was like, okay. We've got some pretty good stuff going on there, Mike. So,
Dude, that was like I don't know if it was just divine intervention or what, but I just so happened to check Twitter within. I remember specifically it was like 43 seconds had gone by from the first post I saw on Twitter, Trump assassination attempt in Pennsylvania, and I was like, okay, hold on, like, because it's Twitter, right? Like we all assume if we're gonna see that, it's like, dude, come on, give me a break, and then you load it. And you hear the gunshots and him grab the ear and him drop. I was just like, oh shit, this is actually real.
Yeah.
And then our chat it's been a snowball ever
blew up.
since.
yeah. Oh, it definitely has, man. Our chat went crazy. And it was interesting when they did start reporting on it to see the different style of story that was coming out. Half of the report said that he fell down and hit his ear and there was some weird popping in the distance and he was rushed off stage. And I was like, that's interesting. And then the other half said he got like half his head shot off and it's like, wow. Oh, okay, man.
There was a Hollywood like actress. I don't even know what her name was, but I remember seeing the video. She was claiming, she's like, gunshots don't sound like that. I grew up in the hood. And I'm like, are you sure? Because you're claiming this is popcorn and that it's all fake. And I don't know, like those sound like rifle shots. Like I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, first of all, man, Bitcoin veterans, you guys all came together. We all started chatting, learning out what was going on, passing good information, passing some bad information, but kind of getting through it, right? That's the process. Sometimes you don't know. But boy, I'll tell you what, the speed of the crowdsourcing these days is incredible. If we, I gotta admit, if we didn't have X or Twitter, we might have missed a lot of this stuff. So props to Elon for that. But we were, it was interesting, because I remember when Reagan was shot. It was, you had one or two news stations reporting in it well after the fact.
Wait a minute. You remember this live? Like you were?
Yeah.
Easy, Alex.
You see these white hairs here? Yeah, absolutely.
When was
You're not
that?
that
The
far
Cretaceous
behind.
period?
You're the same age as me.
I'm just
look
fucking
better.
with him.
You just look better.
Yeah. Alex is like, yeah, I was at work when it happened watching it.
If Gabe is Gandalf, then Randy is Saruman.
Yeah, no kidding, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to completely derail what you were saying.
No, but it was good to see how information flowed. It was being filtered real time, and we're passing good information. Where when you looked at the mainstream media, CNN was loud pops. He fell and he hurt himself and he was rushed off stage. And it wasn't just CNN. It was like all the stations.
I saw one headline that said Secret Service rushes Trump off stage after he falls.
Yes.
It's like, what?
Now, Randy, I know my opinion, but what is your opinion on like the nature of those headlines? It's either blatant incompetence or they're trying to like manipulate the perception of the information.
So they're obviously manipulating the information. I mean, there would be no other reason. I don't think. I mean, it was obvious to anybody that those were gunshots. Yeah, and
Anybody with more than 3 brain cells, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is they were reporting this stuff like 15 minutes after the whole fact, right? And we had dead people on the ground, right? So there's it's pretty obvious. So obviously they're manipulating. I don't. I can only speculate why. I don't even have a good speculation of why. Other than I don't know. I don't know.
I would only think one of the reasons why would be the fact that he didn't get taken out is gonna just bolster his support base, which it did.
Yeah, it did.
Because
It did.
it's just like it's really just I think I was honestly surprised, or maybe okay, I was a little bit I was quite a bit surprised at how many people like particularly Elon and Bill Ackman. Like it's I don't think this was expected, but it has been received as him with the assassination attempt is showing that he's doing something actually correct for the people,
Mhm.
and that there are interested parties interested enough to prevent him from getting into the presidency to put in some sort of conspiratorial mission to result in the exact opposite of how it turned out Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which surprises me, because that means that there's a lot of people that are actually very much informed on what's been going on, not just in the last 4 years, but what particularly happened with a certain man named John with the last name of Kennedy back in the 60s. Right? Because that, like, I remember growing up as a kid, like, if you didn't believe in the magic bullet theory, that like you're a psychopath.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a very good sign for America, in my opinion.
Well, and that's the interesting thing is since this is happening now, it's only been what 5 days, maybe 5 days now since this has happened. Yes, there's been a lot of conspiracies. Yeah, they've gone all over the place, but the narrative continues to come back in to keep open the option that there was some weird stuff going on here, right?
Mhm.
That this is more than just negligence, right?
Yeah.
No,
There's
I'm not-
unanswered questions.
right.
Unanswered questions. And the thing, before we go any further, I want to point out that like the difference between now and then, Mike, is that back then it was way easier to control a narrative.
Mhm.
Yep.
Like all the media was basically controlled, so on and so forth. There was going to be a specific story told, and then people just accepted that story, and they're like, "There are journalists. They've got us. They've got us covered." That's
They're
what
on the
happened.
TV. They're true.
They're on the TV.
There was
Got
3
it covered.
stations, yeah, and they all
And-
said the same
And
thing.
today, in the environment that we're in, as you had mentioned, as soon as this popped off, in real time, massive flows of incoming intel, right? And it hasn't stopped since.
Nope.
Mhm.
So the amount of real-time crowdsourcing of information, right or not, I mean, you still have to evaluate each piece of information for
Yeah.
veracity and like, is this bullshit and where's this coming from? What is, all that kind of stuff. But just the idea that people are digging into it and exploring the potential scenarios, right? So all the what are the potential scenarios? Number one, it was a lone shooter acting alone, just a whack job, and bad security, right? Just incompetence, right? That's one. The next one is wasn't acting alone. There's something else going on there. And how deep does that go? I mean, is it just the one whack job guy and maybe one local cop, or is it deeper than that? How high does it go, right? And then there's so many questions that are unanswered at this point. There's even another theory that there was a second shooter. Like you're starting to see stuff come up about that now, right? Like I'm not pretending to know either way. I have no idea, but people are definitely digging in, and the more people dig in, the more information surfaces, which is wild because normally it would have been, this is what happened, put it to bed, move on. And then another thing, there's just so many questions. I'd like to go through some of the questions and like,
let's go.
One thing that really doesn't look great at this point is that the director of the Secret Service doesn't want to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Mayorkas, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, doesn't want to talk about it. There was somebody else that was basically deflecting, But all of this deflection and not, I don't want to talk about it stuff is not good. The American people need to know what's going on. They want to know what's going on. There needs to be some level of transparency here, because if you don't, oh, I know what it was. It's the FBI basically doesn't want to talk about it either.
A shocker.
Right. So you've got this situation where the American people are asking legitimate questions. Like whether there's foul play or not, the questions need to be answered. And if you don't want to answer the question, that does not look good, because what ends up happening is people will usually fill in blanks with their own imagination, which oftentimes is worse than what actually happened.
Yes.
Right. So you're really creating a bad situation when you run from talking about it.
Yeah. So
Yeah, also, if they don't, sorry, Randy, but there's two other things is that if they aren't answering, it means that they either don't know, which is bad, or they don't want to say, which is bad. Right. So like just adding more fuel to that fire.
Or they do know and they don't want to say, which is also bad.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate just for a second. And I'll say, hey, it's 5 days into it. It's a continuing investigation, right?
Yeah.
And there's just a lot they don't know too, right? So I'm playing devil's advocate. And so that could be one reason. I mean, obviously that's going to be their reasoning for not sharing with us. But just like you said, the fact is we're not getting much of any real information about the shooter. Why did he have explosives? Why did he have the right size? I mean, all these different things, right? There's so many questions that. And then, of course, trying to deflect, right? And say, oh, it was a slopey roof or whatever that, or it was the local police department or whatever. It was their problem. It was, so, of course they're going to deflect. That's a spokesman's job when something bad happens, right? But I can't play devil's advocate for very long on this one, to be honest.
It's wild because, I mean, at this point, it almost seems like all they can do is just monitor the results that, or the outcomes that are being determined by everyone else, and then figure out how they're going to manage damage control, because
that's what they're doing.
Because they know that if they come out now and say, okay, here you go, this is what we know, that I believe that they're going to look like complete and total jackasses. And they know that their credibility is already suffering. And if they get out there and they say, okay, well, after our thorough investigation from our crackpot team of amazing people, this is what we've come to. This is what happened. And then everybody's gonna be like, wait a minute, that's bullshit, because I have a video that says this. And you're like, oh, we didn't know about that video that everybody else knows about. So it almost seems like the speed at which information travels right now is astounding. And it's something that, we're already aware of, but to just see it actually take place like it has over these past few days, man, it's astonishing.
It's incredible.
Yeah. And this is like a case study in the speed of information traveling. And it's just the way that people have leapt on this and just gone crazy with it is wild. The first thing that I thought was pretty cool was, I didn't realize how many people in my networks were assassination attempt experts, but but a lot of them are. And
I think every sniper in the world has been on something. TV or whatever. Yeah.
And every former Secret Service guy and every former executive security guy and just like, for sure.
Yeah. But I don't know if you guys are watching like the what the hell is it? The convention that's going on over there in Milwaukee, but I saw some footage. I am watching it, and I'm watching it on purpose. I'm curious, and I like horrible things. But they had Senator Blackburn last night cornered the Secret Service, the leader.
Why
of
was
Secret
she
Service.
there?
Yeah, that's what I don't get. Why was she there in the first place? I mean, that's the last place I would think she would want to show her face right now.
Right.
But she did show up, and I guess she got what was coming to her, because she got backed into a corner and was told, what Senator Blackburn told her what she thought of her, and basically that she should step down and resign because she's awful. So, but again,
by the way, Shout out to Senator Blackburn. Well
I
done.
know. Yes.
She basically chased her down. That gal was running basically.
Mhm.
And she's like,
Yeah,
the American people want answers.
yes.
Yeah,
Let's
she
go.
is, she is
Yeah.
something else.
Props to her. Yeah.
Mhm.
Right on.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see all these things unfold. Obviously, and I am curious to watch the carnival tonight and to see the Band-Aid ear guy now, the orange. I don't even know what to call him anymore. The orange Band-Aid on the ear dude, but to see him,
The giant orange Band-Aid, man.
What's the old Navy adage? If your right ear is pierced, your left ear is pierced, or something like that. Do you remember that, Alex?
No.
No. Okay. Something like if your right ear is
I
pierced.
remember
you
in
should
the '90s, there was a left ear piercing kind of thing. If that's what you're talking about, but I don't know
think-
what the new one is.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is, but there was a thing in the Navy. If you survived a sinking ship or something like that, you can pierce your right ear. I don't remember, something like that. So, so there we go.
Dr. Nick, why does that have to be named? We all know why, Dr. Nick. It's okay. But
Speaking of Dr. Nick, this is a complete segue, and we can go right back to what we're talking about. But I heard there's going to be a gigantic Yeti at Nashville next year or next week. Excuse me.
I heard
Can
that.
neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
Gotta show up and find out.
Well,
It's gonna be hot in that suit.
So what other questions do we have about what doesn't add up here?
So So I had a thought when we were just talking about narratives here for a second, and it just popped in my head here for a second. If I think what's interesting is if this was well planned, let's say higher level planned, they would have a story ready to go. Don't you think? I mean, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you would think that they would have a plan if their shooter missed, and it seems to me like they don't have a plan. Like they were caught flat-footed, right? Which
Yes.
makes you wonder.
So then we
Yeah,
have to.
yep.
So maybe we then dial back a little bit from the theory that it's truly deep state, or if it is, it was so partitioned from everybody else that it was just either a small group or just the shooter himself. Which, when you have a 20-year-old kid with explosives and a remote detonator, makes you that brings up other questions.
Brings
makes it
up
a
other
little far fetched,
questions,
is
right?
what you're getting at.
Right? Okay, so this kid, no real military training, right?
Right.
Is it plausible that he created that explosive device with a remote detonator? Mike's shaking his head. No. Why not?
I like, unless he had some really, really good Googling skills, in my opinion. Because like they said, they checked his social media and his phone, that he didn't have any inkling of some sort of ideology or belief system that would lead him to like going to this. And then they gave us the nonsense of, and he was using encrypted comms. Like, no, like absolutely not. Like they can gain access into Signal and Telegram. Like, what encrypted comms are you talking? They have access to WhatsApp. They have access to the Facebook message. They have access to everybody's emails and everything on their phone. So like, how is encrypted comms going to be acceptable by the public? And
Think
he
about
doesn't have
that
military.
though. Think about that though. What would even be the point of saying he has encrypted comms?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to push it towards the Iranian story.
No. Well, no. They're
That's a whole nother
going
question right
after
there.
they're going after encryption. That's
That's a good point.
That's
that
a
is a good
target to go after.
AR-15s are bad. Encryption is bad.
Yes.
Bitcoin
Privacy
is bad.
Mhm.
Privacy is
Yep.
bad.
Yep.
Freedom is bad.
Code is not speech. Code is ammo.
But
You
But I'll
humans
bring-
can't be trusted. So like we have to, yeah, exactly.
I'll bring this up for the demo piece because I obviously had to do a lot of demo in my career, and I'll tell you what, it's complicated. You got to understand. It's got to understand electronics. You got to understand explosives and priming explosives and timers and all this stuff. It's really complicated. That means to get decent at it, you actually have to practice. You have to do it a few times, right? That means he would have left a trail of practice somewhere somehow, but at the same time, is where would he get explosives? I mean,
Do we know what kind of explosives they were at
nope,
this point?
they're not telling us.
which is another. I think that's another piece of intel. Like if they're not
It
telling us,
certainly is.
like we found out who the pipe bomber was in, what was it? Was that also Pennsylvania too? I can't remember what the situation was, but there was a pipe bomber that police were caught like surveilling that they knew about beforehand, and it ended up being like a bunk thing. Like it wasn't like the situation that the media told us about. Like there was video of somebody actually placing it there. But if it was a pipe bomb, I feel like they would have said it by now.
Yeah, and you know, there was an explosive device in his room in his house, and there was one in his car also. So that means there was
Which is
two
his
of them.
parents' house too, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
I have to
So-
wonder if the answers will ever be sufficient enough to keep many people from continuing to dig and to push and to just not believe it. I mean, the credibility of these organizations is decreased significantly from an already low place over the past few years. And it seems to be growing. And even people that, you know, I tend to think of, I'm not trying to be negative, but people that kind of are more of like surface dwellers as far as where they get their information are even starting to dig a little bit deeper. You know, instead of kind of skimming on the top of the water, they're starting to you know, go down there and see what's actually going on a little bit more and more than they have in previous years. And I think that,
Yeah,
you know, election questions and, you know, hoaxes and collusions and all this other nonsense has just, more people are asking now and less people are trusting and more people are verifying. And I have a hard time believing that they will be able to release a statement and a story and an explanation that people are going to believe on a broad scale. I just
Yeah.
don't see it happening.
That's fair. Like the
Wait.
trend of loss of confidence in America's institutions has been on a downward slope for some time now. And like,
Well, and picking up momentum too.
well, it's almost like, well, think about it. Like how many really like solid dudes do you guys know who've gotten out? How many were forced out? And I'm talking about not just the military, but like I talk to guys who are either
Healthcare, all of it.
you know, all of it. I've talked to guys who are ATF, various different law enforcement agencies, and a lot of people are telling similar stories where it's like some of the best people we've got were either forced out or chose to leave because a lot of these DEI policies and the other things that they're essentially
Yeah.
doing makes it an untenable place to work. Basically, they're like,
Yeah.
"Are you joking me right now?" So, I mean, these are all contributing factors, and at this point, the question becomes, you know, like, just as an example, how many people actually trust the FBI to conduct a thorough investigation? And if they find out something, how many people trust them to report the truth?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I don't
And-
trust the FBI whatsoever right now.
And it's like it's just been hit after hit after hit with them and their I guess their fellow agencies. I mean,
Yeah.
from, you know, I'm going to say some trigger words here, but, you know, from Ruby Ridge, Waco, you know, just over the past few decades, it's like just more and more questions.
Yeah.
You know, and it's even some of the younger generations are now starting to ask these because of things like that. You know, I mean, I think it's Netflix or one of those, you know, streaming services that has, I mean, they've got a whole, you know, series on what happened out there in Waco with the Branch Davidians. And I mean, that, you know, I mean, my kid watched it and she was like, wait a minute, did this really happen? I mean, that's crazy that they would do that. And so it's like even the younger generation now is, you know, and the thing is they've grown up in this world. They've grown up in
Yeah.
this post 9/11
Yeah.
world
That's a
where, you
good
know,
point.
yeah, where it's like they know. And it's almost like it creates, it like cultivates the field for their minds to be more likely to move towards Bitcoin in a way.
and
Just based on the,
maybe
you know,
not want to join the military or federal service at
Yeah.
all, right?
Oh,
Like when I was a kid, like I wanted to go. I was like, let's go. I was excited about joining the military. I was excited about going overseas and doing things. right?
Yeah.
But it's like you got kids today watching television, and what do they see? They see this gal from the Secret Service who's extremely rotund, who pulls her gun out, and she's like, can't figure out how to holster the thing, and then she's like,
Well, she's got it at the 7 o'clock. Like, why would you put your holster at 7 o'clock?
it's just
Why?
So you're a kid watching that, and you're like, oh, I want to grow up and join the Secret Service, right?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Oh yeah, the premier, the leading country of the free world, and that's the premier protection team in the world, is the Secret Service, right? Supposedly.
Supposedly.
Supposed
and,
to be.
And here we are failing miserably.
Yeah, it was
Well,
an
Tim-
absolute failure of
yeah.
of their job, right?
Tim
There's
Kennedy's
nobody-
podcast with Chris Williamson was scathing, but I think it was probably one of the most honest. Because like one of the things that it took me a couple hours, but I finally brought it up on my Twitter, was like, I'm sorry guys, but like, consider me wrong, but I don't think women should be in the Secret Service. Like, it should be all the absolute most capable, most skilled, most experienced, biggest guys that are like that fit all the other things. Because like, isn't it like Randy? Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't one of the things that you would need as like one of those agents, like you would have to be bigger than the president in order to actually provide a proper like bullet magnet or meat shield for him?
I mean, that's preferable. Now, just remember, Secret Service does a lot of different. They do a lot of different stuff other than just protect the president, right? So sometimes they also protect the first wife and the kids and stuff like that. So there is a place for females in there. In that they're a softer look to the public. Sometimes they get along better. Like, you wouldn't want some meathead with a 17-year-old daughter of the president, by yourself, right? You'd rather have a female, right? Makes sense.
Yeah, that's probably true.
So there's a place for them, but protecting a possible assassination target like Trump, especially if the intelligence from last week is true that Iran. So okay, I'm going to bring this up. So obviously, about 2 days ago, multiple outlets said, "Hey, Iran had wanted to kill Trump," right? So, so I started reading through all the reports on it, and it's all because he was the president when they killed Soleimani in it was Syria. Back in 2020, and so the reasoning for the death threats against Trump was from 2020, and so apparently they beefed up security for this a little bit. They actually had 2 separate Secret Service sniper teams, counter sniper teams, versus the one that they were supposed to have. So so maybe there's something there, maybe not. I don't know. But the point is, the folks who were there were obviously C team, D team, not A team.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. What do we think about the fact that it was being streamed live on more outlets than his other rallies? 'Cause that's interesting to me.
That's one
Wait,
of
you don't
those.
think it was coincidence?
That's one of those overhanging weird questions, right? Like,
Why
not
this one? He had one the night before, didn't he?
Not only was it there was more coverage than really anything else. There's other parts that have questions. Like, apparently CNN has never live streamed one of his rallies.
Why would they?
For as far as this year, except for this one, which is weird. And then you've got that iconic picture of the bullet, right? Which apparently was taken with high-speed film, which why would you do that? And why would you do it at that moment? Like, just weird questions.
Yeah, you're at a normal rally. Why would you have a high-speed camera set up? Are you trying to catch like a plane flying behind him while he's talking or something?
But imagine if you were the photographer that was set up with a high-speed camera and you took the picture. Okay, let's say things didn't go as well as they did. Let's say he actually got hit. That would be a very different picture. Can you imagine
That'd
catching
be
that picture?
That would be Pulitzer Prize winning picture right there.
That'd be JFK level with like his skull on the back of the car.
Is it Pulitzer? I don't know. Whoever. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it'd be
And it would have been the moment that some aggressive disagreeing occurred in America too.
all right. So you want to let's go down that path.
Yep, there we go.
All right.
Thanks, Wade.
What would that look like to you guys? What do you think?
What? Be more specific. What would
So
what look like?
let's say the shooter was successful.
Man, I don't know, man. It's
I think okay, I have a theory. I think that there would have been mass panic in the Republican Party for a number of reasons, but one of them being we don't know who we want to replace him with. And it would have led to panic, confusion, dissolution of like the relative like alliance of the Republican Party, and it would have increased the likelihood of success for the opposition, for their opposition or the current party to maintain power with the presidency. And then that invites other questions as far as what happens in the future. And I think it takes time to build up momentum for the conspiracy theories to like really start to flow out.
You know,
So-
here's a
go ahead.
thought. What's happening with the Democratic Party right now? Allegedly, the Democratic Party is largely in chaos, right? Because they're having issues with Biden at the moment, and some of them are asking him to step down. And like from my understanding, there's some infighting going on. They're trying to figure out what to do. It would probably be something similar to that, but I think it would be the medium and longer term effects would be different in that I suspect you would have that immediate sort of chaos up front. What do we do? Then you would have like a feeling of like we're kind of screwed set in over time. And then if things in this country keep going down the same pathway, let's say we didn't get Trump in there, or anyone really who could reverse the course of the current sort of what's happening in America, right? That would lead to other things. And now you're talking
Are you
10
talking
years of
when you're talking about the nihilism, Alex? Do you mean in the population or in the party?
the population. Like, look,
that's
there's
what I thought.
there's a lot of people out there who are like, I mean, if you can sense the tension in human beings, right? Like a lot of the younger population, they're struggling. They can't afford food. They can't afford rent.
Yep.
And there's a big chunk of the population that's just really, really struggling right now. You've got videos out there of guys, veterans, who are just at their freaking wits' end, like just trying to survive in the current environment. And there's a lot of pressure on a lot of people. And I think that would.
And Trump is the only one that's inspiring like true patriotism, in my opinion, too. Like when he stood up and he did the fists, like I felt it. I'm sure you guys felt it. It's like, yeah, dude, like that's who I want to be my leader.
You know what I thought when I saw that? I thought he's considering that he might die at any moment, and he's telling us to continue the fight. That's what I thought.
Dude, that's not something that somebody does who does not believe in what they are doing. Okay.
Yeah.
That man literally just faced death. And like you said, he didn't know if another one was coming his way. He didn't know if there was another shooter. He didn't know if he was done at that moment, if the stage was going to blow up or what. But that's what he did. And I mean, that alone, I mean, love him, hate him, support him, vote him, don't vote for him, whatever. But that guy believes in what he's doing. He's not putting on an act, because he was looking death right in the face. And I mean, that was a hell of a moment,
Death
dude.
touched him, dude.
Yeah. And Dr. Nick said, I mean, this was something else that I thought was fascinating
Dr. Nick.
about his shoes was, I mean, if you listen to the audio, you know, the bullet hits him in the ear, he drops, they get on top of him, he start picking him up, and you can hear him, and he's like, wait a minute, let me put on my shoes. And at that moment, I was like, okay, this dude he's kind of in shock, but also he wants to, maintain his poise and his presentation, and like, if he's leaving, he wants to have his shoes on and do his thing. And he wants to be able to project the power of his position, which I got, but he was aware of that. And then it was like, okay, they were like, F it, the shoe. And if you see one angle, you see one of his shoes got left up on the stage. So they ended up just lifting him up and going without it. And it was like, as soon as he got up, that stuff didn't matter anymore. And you can see like the fury on his face. And he threw his fist up, and I was like, damn, okay.
There's another part of that though. I saw a note from somebody who was there that described it like this. It's like when the first shot started popping off and everybody saw Trump go down, everybody assumed at that point that he was hit and he was dead.
Oh, damn.
So
That'd
people
be like,
were basically like, you know what I mean? Pin drop moment. Like
Yeah.
people were terrified that Trump had
frozen
just
in fear. Yeah.
killed. Yeah.
Yep.
And then when he stood up and did the whole fight thing, apparently the whole crowd, the energy shifted, and they went from, oh my God, they just killed him, to they were chanting USA, USA.
Yep.
Back. Can you imagine that? You would feel that energy shift in the crowd. That would be wild.
Which is what, like, that's the energy that America needs right now. Because
Yep.
if we don't get that, we get the nihilism that you were talking about, Alex.
Yeah.
And then like nihilism doesn't lead, like, in most
No.
people, it doesn't lead to growth. It leads to like
Especially,
decay.
look, especially if you're in a fight, you get nihilistic, you're on the path to being
You're
killed.
fucked.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
need some of that spirit to move, to energize, to lead, right? I think here's my thought. If that bullet would have found its mark, I think instead of straight up confusion and sadness, which people, okay, so I think people would have gotten angry.
Oh,
Okay.
a bunch of people would have gotten angry.
So
for
Trump
sure.
has a huge, big following, right? Now, most of us don't put a whole lot of our faith in politics or politicians, but there's a lot of people who love Trump. And after 8 years or so of them attacking him mercilessly, from impeachment after impeachment, after lawfare, after being sued, after
Russia,
everything else,
Russia, just
collusion,
Fabricating evidence at
all the
Mar-a-Lago.
things. Yeah.
after all that, to be then to be killed, I think his following, which is a lot of people, by the way, I'd say 40% of our population are pretty firm Trump lovers, or they really like him. Fans.
They also tend to love guns too.
Exactly. So I think the anger would have I think this might have been a turning point where that anger might have spilled out. And where, I am not sure. It might have gone, it might have spilled out against the Secret Service, the FBI. It could have been local law enforcement. It could be,
Well, it would have flowed like a
Democrats.
river, right? Like they would have moved on from
Yeah.
one focus to the next. They're like, we're gonna chase this down until you people start giving us answers, or like things
Yeah.
start flying that you don't want.
Yeah, I'll tell you
Yes.
what, he's not the only one that dodged a bullet.
Exactly. Exactly. I think this could have gotten pretty ugly if Trump didn't turn his head.
I agree. And it would have sucked. I mean, it would have sucked for everybody.
Agreed.
But you're right. We're talking about millions of people that are supporting this man across the country. And even if a percentage of them felt like they were justified in taking that type of action. I don't think that it would be unruly and unfocused, similar to, the post George Floyd riots and all of those things. I think
Yeah.
that it would be much more
Tactical.
organized. Yeah.
They would
And
like to clean the swamp themselves.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's not
that's a good
something
point.
anybody wants, because then,
Well, and go ahead, Gabe. Sorry,
I was just going to say what that does is that justifies a type of reaction from the state that none of us want to experience. And
Right,
then that's when we start looking at mutual escalations taking place, and that no, we don't want that.
Which and what I was going to add to that is that with how we've talked about today and then multiple times prior, like how quickly information spreads, that also means emotion spreads that fast.
It does.
And that also means that people come together quicker, they organize faster. We potentially could be in a very, very different place today if that bullet would have found its mark.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
That's scary.
And who would people listen to? Who would be asking to calm everybody down? Would be Biden? No, probably not. I mean, he would, but
Would
won't
people
listen.
listen to that though?
I mean,
No.
Some people on the right might rise up and say, "Hey, calm down. Let's not do this." But I think at a certain point,
I think it would fall into people like personalities like Jocko Willink. Like they would have to like start stepping up, like guys, like they would have to, because I personally don't trust the leadership in the political sphere. I don't trust the leadership in the judicial sphere or the legislative is the political, definitely the executive, which is the presidency. Don't trust the leadership at any of the military branches above like what, colonel, like who's actually going to step up? And that then it goes back to the conversation that Randy, you and I agreed on with the whole momentum.
Can you elaborate on that for a second? Because people who aren't from the military who are listening to this may not understand what you just said. I think it's important.
Which part?
The thing about who do you trust? Do you trust anybody above the rank of, say, colonel? And you stopped it right at colonel. Why did you stop it there?
Because they're typically, like, from my understanding and my experience in the military, the colonel is like the last rank that you can still get some interaction with your soldiers, and especially see them in person, right? Like formations, like whether it's at the brigade or battalion level or whatever, you can still see them. But then, like, especially when it comes to like things like the COVID vaccine mandate and enforcing it upon units and like different aspects of the army or the Navy or whatever.
Is it fair to say that above the level of colonel, it starts to get a lot more political, and you become those officers oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, to be promoted through the upper echelons of the officer corps. At that point, you're a political animal more so than a war fighting animal.
Yeah.
Which means that they're making decisions based on their career path, not on what's best intentions for their subordinates.
Correct. Yeah.
Were you about to say something, Randy? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, generally in the military, it's a meritocracy up until about colonel, right? So after that, it becomes pure political, which, I mean, it is what it is. It didn't always be that way, but maybe it was. I don't know.
I don't know. I think if you think back, the type of officers that are that are flag officers today are not the same as they used to be. Like even
they're Ivy League.
It's not just Ivy League. That's not the thing. Like,
well, I don't mean it directly, but I mean it's similar to the Ivy League problem that's going on right now.
Well, I mean, just
like
think back to the kind of general officers we had during World War II, right? Patton,
Jinx,
right? These are different, even all the way up into Vietnam. Like, just some of the officers that we had in that era as well. Like, but something changed.
Yeah.
Right. Where more and more you have less of what I would consider warriors. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And you have more of the bureaucrats, the politicians.
It seems like it's been
weird.
Increasing more post World War II, because I know that a lot of that was taking place in during the Vietnam era as well. Read About Face by Hackworth. It's a phenomenal book. It's a big one, but it's worth it. And it's so hard to trust individuals that are so heavily involved in a political system, because at that moment, I mean, they're military, but they're also a bigger part of the large DoD system, which is a part of the larger political system. And it's difficult for people to trust them because they behave in an untrustworthy way.
Nowadays, how much of your advancement is hinging upon embracing some kind of woke ideology, DEI, so on and so forth?
That's new. That's within the last 10, 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and you know what came out of, I want to say 37 was when the OSS was made, maybe a little bit earlier. And the OSS is the progenitor to the CIA. So, I mean, that's not nothing.
Yeah. But as far as, who could step up and, I guess, influence some type of order, in the event that, that things would have gone differently. I agree with what you said, Mike, that I think that some of these influencers would need to take a position and to put out some messaging. And I remember when Afghanistan was falling apart, when that debacle of the withdrawal took place, and people were going to Jocko specifically, and a lot of veterans were going to Jocko saying, "Hey man, what the hell should we think about this? I'm really pissed off about this. This sucks. My friends died. I left a limb over there. I'll never be the same. I mean, things like that. What do we do?" And he actually did release a statement. He was tactful about it. He was smart, of course, because he is who he is. He's a good communicator. But his whole thing was, if I were the president, then this is what I would do. And then he talked about all the ways that it could be handled. But he was, he didn't outright just attack him. Yeah. But from what I could see, it helped a lot of people say, okay, all right, let's be cool about this. Let's be calm. Because his overall message was, let's be cool. Well, it was that. Let's be cool and let's be calm. Let's not get pissed about it. Okay, this is something that's happening and it sucks. But we got to push through and we got to get past it. I think that if something like that had happened, if the assassin had been successful, then that would have been required. At the same time, I don't think that it would have been completely and totally peaceful of a reaction. And quite frankly, I tend to think that some things could have the potential to still get ugly regardless, even if
there's a lot of time left, man.
Yeah.
That's the other part. That's the other part, right?
Yeah, it's
July 18th. We got a long way to go to November, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I know. And I tell you what, we're excited about next week in Nashville, but boy, we would call this target rich environment.
I think if the team hasn't heard about it yet, I think that Trump and his team are probably going to be pretty happy that there's going to be a lot of veterans there.
Yeah. So,
boy.
By the way, how many are we up to, Gabe? We're sending. So let's talk about that for a minute. Let's just switch gears a little bit. We're getting near the top of the hour. It's a good time to segue into this. What's the number of tickets that we have helped get out there? So what happened is that Bitcoin Magazine, when we were getting in touch with them, where we talked to them, we were like, hey, could you give us a little bit of a discount for veterans? Because, just everybody would like to go to stuff. Not everybody can't always afford to go to stuff. So can you help us out a little bit? They were incredibly gracious. They gave us, not only did they give us discount codes for 70% off general admission tickets, they also gave us a huge breakout room. And they were kind enough to not charge us for that. My understanding is that they normally charge for that. And it's a lot. I'm not going to say how much it is, but it's a big amount. And they were really cool by giving it to us. We're going to have our own stage that we're calling the Bitcoin Veterans Citadel. And we're going to be doing workshops and all kinds of cool stuff. But what are we up to as far as the number of people that we've got going to this thing?
We've they gave us a bunch of codes to use individually to distribute to people for tracking, so we could really know how many we're issuing out, and we are at 139 codes that have been issued right now.
Let's go.
And many of
Right.
them I know were purchasing multiple tickets with their discount codes. So
So it could
yeah.
be
So
it could be,
139 would be
it
the
could be
minimum.
multiples of that number, right?
yeah, and that doesn't include us, or any of the
Yep.
the cadre. So yeah, it's going to be a lot. There's going to be a very significant Bitcoin veterans presence there, and there's a lot of excitement that's being generated around it, and it continues to pick up. It's going to be wild, man, and the Citadel is going to be it's going to be lit.
I would, you know what? Speaking of that, I would like to see that. I would like to see. It would be really dope. It's kind of a fantasy. It'd be really dope if like a member or members of Trump and JD Vance's team like came through for like to talk about like our contingency working group with Bill.
Mhm.
That would be really powerful.
Yeah.
So that's an invite to you guys. If any of you guys on those teams are listening, like you should swing through. That'd be dope.
Let them know.
We
Bring 'em
need to
in.
get JD. We need to get JD Vance on here because he's a Bitcoiner and a veteran. So
Mhm. Yeah, I've got a T-shirt.
Is
just
he's
for
a
him.
veteran? Is he?
yeah, he's a Marine.
Is he a Marine? Yeah. Okay.
Crayon eater. Yeah.
Shane will be in good company then.
We're gonna have a crayon eater for vice president.
Mhm. I'm not
Oh,
problem with
man.
that. Hey, if we got a patch, we got to hook the guy.
Oh
up.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, we'll get him a patch.
And there's going to be even more. I mean, this is just with our reach alone. That's how many people that we've got coming. But we all know there's going to be other veterans there that this is going to be something that they haven't heard of yet, and we're going to be all over the place. And so we're going to be bringing them on down to the Citadel. We're going to have networking going on in there. It's like you said, Alex. We've got a lot of space, and we're going to be using it. So. We're going to have some extra crayons too. So if we got a bunch of Marines coming in, then come on down. We have snacks. So
We got snacks, Scooby snacks, and crayons.
yeah.
It's irresistible.
Matthew, for you, we're going to make an obstacle course with slopey roofs.
A series of slopey roofs, extremely dangerous environment. You're gonna have to sign a waiver.
We're gonna have to
Before you
put up a
participate.
caution sign that directors of the Secret Service are not allowed to pass this line because it's too dangerous for them.
Things are unstoppable, don't you know?
Let's do a quick shout out to another one of our sponsors, and let's talk a little bit more about what we got going on in Nashville, because we have a huge lineup of events that I'm very excited about. However, really quickly want to shout out Solo Satoshi. These guys are doing a pretty cool thing. So you guys have heard of these bit axes, right? They're basically solo miners. You guys know what a solo miner is?
I think so. I honestly don't know.
So
I
the
would like to
idea
hear
with
what
it,
it is.
the idea with a solo miner is you don't actually point your hash at a pool. You just run the miner.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a small amount of processing power. But you could, and this has happened, mine an entire block yourself, basically.
Wow.
So if you mined if you mined a whole block yourself, there they are, Solo Satoshi. If you mined a whole block yourself, you would end up with the block reward, which is what, 3.125 right now.
125?
So if you hit that block, that's 3 point, yeah, right, at today's prices. And if what happens at Nashville, if we think what's going to happen actually happens, I mean, the price could be a lot higher. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit, but these guys are really cool. I've spoken to them, and what they're trying to do is, the whole idea here is to further decentralize the network. So the idea is, like, these aren't very expensive, like $100 up to 175 for this model over here on the left. The idea is you plug them in, they eat up maybe $5-10 a month of electricity. Big deal. One way to think of it is like you're buying lottery tickets with your solo miner.
Yep.
Maybe you'll never hit, but if it hits, that's not bad, right? And
you don't have to do anything to get those tickets. Like, it's just constantly getting
you don't have to
tickets
do
for the lottery.
anything. You just plug it in, you run it, and you just let it go, right? But the idea is you get, you know, a couple 100,000 people running these things that further decentralizes the Bitcoin network. So even if some government were to come out, you know, let's say the United States went hostile versus Bitcoin, the government was like, you can't mine Bitcoin in this country, right? And you shut down all that hash power. Well, it just makes it further decentralized. So it's a really cool idea. Suggest you guys go check them out. You can find them at solosatoshi.com, solosatoshi.com. And let them know, like, give them a follow on Twitter. They're at Solo Satoshi. Say hi to them, and just let them know that you support what they're doing. If you do, I'm not telling you guys what to do, but if you do, you support what they do, let them know that you heard about them from us.
By the way, I'll
Mhm.
piggyback on that on the back of that too. Like for those that weren't around for like the big China ban or any of the big bans, like if you
China.
have if you have one of these miners already plugged in and hashing, and an event like similar to the China ban kicks off and a bunch of hash rate shuts down, the difficulty becomes a lot easier. And that increases your chances for success of finding a block in that moment when a lot of people are scrambling trying to get miners to plug back in and take advantage of the difficulty adjustment. So I would take advantage of it.
Yeah, it's really cool, and they're great guys. And these bit axes, I mean, they'll fit right in the palm of your hand. It's the coolest thing. And that really is one of the, I guess, coolest features about what they're doing is it is true decentralization of Bitcoin mining. And we could literally have millions of people around the planet mining Bitcoin at the same time. It's pretty cool stuff. So check them out.
Hell yeah.
All right, Nashville stuff, man. They've got so much stuff going on. First of all, we have been invited to do a panel. So the five, basically the podcast hosts of BV. BV is way bigger than us, by the way. We're just the people who talk once a week. There are hundreds and hundreds of veterans who are part of BV now, and we're adding new people every single day. The momentum and the growth of this thing continues to blow my mind. Been doing this for about a year now, and it's incredible because we're at the point now where we've got patrons that are coming to us and they're like, hey, we like what you guys are doing, want to donate to what you guys are doing, help you grow this thing, help you further the mission of what you're doing. I'm just very excited. So we're going to be, I believe it's 9 a.m. on the 27th on the Genesis stage. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So we'll be doing a panel, and then we have something else we have to do immediately after, but we look forward to seeing you guys there. So hopefully you can make that one. We're starting out on the 24th. It's going to be a community service day and an unconference day. So we'll start out doing some community service stuff. That's going to be led by Jordan, I believe. And then we're going to be doing the unconference. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, Gabe? Because I know you're more involved in that.
Yeah, so it's at a venue called the Cordell. It's close to the venue for the main conference. It's starting at about 1 o'clock. So if you want to show up a little bit earlier, about 12:30, then that would be good. It goes until 7 p.m. But this is an event that is put on by Me Premier Bitcoin and our Bitcoin Veterans Group. And it is focused on education, Bitcoin education, and we will have educators from around the world that are getting together. It's real laid back and casual. The tickets are actually capped at 150, so there will be no more than 150 people there because it's designed to be intimate. It's designed to be very personal, where people can just get together and talk about education and learn from each other. But this will be my third one. And they're amazing. And it's actually happens to be the third one that's ever happened. And I'm not going to miss these. I went to the first one down in El Salvador last year. I went to the second one in Madeira at Bitcoin Atlantis, and I'm going to this one too. So we're going to have some pretty awesome speakers coming down there, sharing what they've done to support Bitcoin education. I know that Natalie Brunell is going to be there leading a panel. Ella Huff is going to be there. Sam Callahan is going to be in the house. It's going to be some awesome stuff. There's a gentleman named I can't remember his dang name. I'm ruining my own promo, but he wrote a book called Would Mao Hold Bitcoin? And he's got a really cool philosophy here Awesome. Thanks, Free Market Kids. Guy Swan is going to be up in the house. We all know and love Guy Swan. He was on here a few weeks back, and he's going to be talking about the power of storytelling when it comes to educating people about Bitcoin. And he's just a cool dude. I'm going to try to get him to tell his story about beer pong while he's there, since he's going to be in the storytelling mode. But yeah, tickets are still on sale. Go to Premier Bitcoin's website. You can find it all on there. It's very affordable. I think right now the tickets are less than $80, and you're going to have a day of, I've networked with some people that I would not have been able to get close to at other events, at the past 2 events. So it's awesome stuff, man. Come and check it out. And we'll do the thing, and then we'll wrap that up, and everybody will go out and do their parties and all that stuff, and then move on to the next day, which would be the 25th, which I think you got some pew pew action going on there, don't you, Alex?
Yep, we're going to be doing the first annual Bitcoin Veterans Range Day on the 25th. We're going to be east of Nashville. There's a gentleman who is a former Blackhawk, Kiowa, and Chinook pilot, who is graciously allowing us to use his place. Dan, if you hear this, thank you very much. Appreciate you. And we're going to be taking a bunch of people out there, various different levels of experience, and running them through a bunch of stuff. We have a great lineup of instructors and range safety officers and medical people standing by to assist. Randy's going to be one of the instructors. And we have a couple of other guys who come from every branch of the military. We've got Shane Hazels from Marine Force Recon going to be out there. We've got another SEAL, guys who are former SWAT, guys who are former Army combat infantry, just a whole array of guys. It's going to be a great day. Plus, we've got a guy that's coming out there and going to be serving up lunch, and he's got a great plan for that. So that's exciting. That evening is going to be Anders' pleb party. So I know some of you guys are excited about that. The next day, the 26th, we're going to be doing a run, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Jordan's leading that. But yeah, we're going to be out there running. So don't be scared. It's, we did one of these over at Pacific Bitcoin, last fall. We did a really cool peer-to-peer run. There was a few of us. One guy might have thrown up on one of the piers, and that's okay. That's okay. We did get a picture of it. It did happen. But yeah, we're gonna go for a little run through downtown Nashville. It'll be good. All levels of physical ability are welcome. If you want to just go for a brisk walk, that's cool. But yeah, it's gonna be good. It's gonna be kind of early. So that's how we do things. But yep, we're gonna get out there and run and get all fired up and get ready for the conference, for us to go in there and start doing the cool things up in the Citadel.
If you haven't been in Nashville in the summer, like, you don't want to run at any other time besides early anyway. So
early.
Yeah.
It's like a blanket of humidity kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was down there in November, and it was still pretty warm and humid, and I was just like, holy crap, I can't imagine what it's going to be like in July.
I think it's going to be rough.
All right, so then that evening of the 26th, we're going to have the Bitcoin Veterans meetup. By the way, we might still have a few tickets left to that. If you're interested in going to that, basically we've got this place reserved that's just for us. So I think the capacity is like 120, 140 people, something like that. And it's going to be at a gaming place where they're going to have
Pins
lots
Mechanical.
of
duck pin bowling.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're all just going to hang out there, have a good time, and get to know each other better. Check out at Bitcoin Veterans on Twitter if you're interested. If you don't have tickets for that and you want to go, check that out. And then the final.
Man, hang on, I just got to say it. I'm really looking forward to that night, man. I think that's going to be that's going to be awesome, because you know how it is. I mean, we exist so much online, and and tweeting and liking and retweeting and all that stuff, and maybe on Spaces, but there is nothing like getting together in person with a bunch of damn Bitcoiners, okay? Especially a bunch of Bitcoiners that are veterans, and it's just gonna be freaking awesome. So I mean, I'm looking forward to meeting a couple hundred people that are gonna be there, and man, I just can't wait. because that's really what it's about. Okay, because
Yeah.
when it's again, like I said, man, we live in this virtual world and we've got, you know, our internet friends and all that, but dude, when internet friends become, you know, real life friends, there we go, Dr. Nick. That's what I'm talking about. But I mean, that's just where the real magic happens, because then after it's over and then we're continuing to, you know, be internet friends, we're also real life friends, and it just changes everything, man. The feeling of it is unlike anything. So yeah, anybody who's if you're going to be around on the night of the 26th, I really don't care what your other plans are. You need to cancel them and then come on out. We're going to have a blast. And I'm
Get
telling
your
you,
priorities in order.
For those in the audience that haven't gone to like a Bitcoin conference yet, that have been in the Bitcoin space but haven't like met people in person yet, like I'm gonna warn you, it's a drug. Like it's a drug. It's a drug that will stick around the entire week. It'll keep you up. It will fuel you the entire time. And then once you leave, there is going to be a withdrawal. Like
Man,
it
I
is
always knew this
something
Bitcoin
else.
thing was a cult. Get weirdos.
yeah, you're not wrong. I'm
Hey,
curious.
the nice thing is we don't have any Kool-Aid, so you don't have to worry about that.
That's right. But yeah, I tell you, man, it was I've met some of my internet friends in real life, and I've been they were a little
Your
bit-
internet friends, Gabe.
Yeah, well, they're my real friends now.
Nerd.
But I have lots of friends on the internet. That's my mom. But yeah, there's some that when I've met him in person, I was like, huh, that guy's a little bit taller than I thought, or that guy's much shorter than I thought, or that
Yeah.
dude is freaking jacked. I gotta
I've
tell
had
you,
that
man,
experience.
I was kind of
I've had
surprised
that.
by Mickey Koss, man. I didn't realize that he's the guy that could probably like squeeze the life out of somebody just by giving him a hug. But he's a pretty tough dude.
Well, look at his beard, man. That's enough
Good
signal.
Lord. I know I think he's got a minor hidden in there somewhere, man. He
Like
could
he
fit-
led a Viking raid or two back in another life.
He's an awesome dude, though. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I don't know if he's watching tonight, but yeah,
Right
it's
on.
gonna be good to have him down there. But yeah, you're right, man. It's like a drug. It's the best dang thing.
So morning of the 27th, again, we'll be doing our panel on the Genesis stage at 9:00 in the morning. And then that evening, this is the first time I think we've ever announced this. We're going to be doing a dinner at what we're calling the BV Mansion for just cadre. Like those of you who are out there who are listening to this, who are cadre, you know who you are. So we're going to be there for that evening. Make sure you mark that out on your calendar because that's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
Am I forgetting
I'm
anything?
really excited for that one. I don't think
that's
so.
about it. Yeah. Bring what you got. It's gonna be a
Randy,
good
any thoughts here?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time, man. Gonna be a good time.
I will add one thing. I will be taking donations for caffeine and coffee during this entire week. So if anybody has any recommendations or anything, I will greatly appreciate it.
All right, so that's a pretty good preview. If any of you out there who are listening to this have questions, it's not too late, by the way. You can get tickets extremely cheap, 70% off if you want a general admission ticket. Oh, by the way, shout outs to Mark.
Except Travis.
If you're listening to this, you know who you are. We've had a gentleman who's basically a patron of BV offer. If you're a veteran and you want to go to the conference, but you can't afford a conference ticket, all you need to do is get yourself to the conference. This guy has offered to buy your tickets for you. If you're a veteran,
Damn.
veteran adjacent, like, you know, veteran spouse, whatever, you want to go to the conference, can't afford a ticket, get with us, contact us, and this patron of ours will buy your ticket for you.
I'm assuming he's going to be taking some sort of proof, right?
No, I just know this guy really well. He loves what we do.
Okay.
If I tell him these people are veterans, he's going to be like, no problem.
Okay.
No big deal.
For those that are interested and want to take advantage of it, I would just bring some proof just in case. Just, you know, we don't want you guys missing out if you want to be there.
All right. That's pretty much it. So we're a quarter past the hour. You know what time it is.
I'm doing it back tonight. Give me a second.
It's time to find that button. Where's that button?
Oh, man.
Sorry.
It's all right.
It's my first day. All right, who's got a damn story?
Who's got a story?
Who's got one? I know one of you guys have got one.
The only story I have is before we were deploying out to the Middle East. All of us had gone out for like a night on the town. You know, the night on the town that the MPs always tell everybody, or at least the National Guard units, you're not allowed to do. And we loaded up a van, and we go out. It's a typical night, like pool, shots going around. We made sure to bring one 20-year-old soldier that couldn't drink so he could drive the van back. And it gets to the point of where we all, like, the van has to stop at a gas station for a potty break, right? Because it's like 15 guys that had all been consuming copious amounts of alcohol all night. And it's like 2 a.m, probably like 1:32 in the morning. And gas station, there's nobody there because of the time. And I walk in after it's been a couple minutes because I was one of the only sober ones, and I was making sure everybody's taken care of. And I go look at the bathrooms, and the soldiers did the soldierly thing, and it's one by one with a line, nobody in the gas station. And I'm like, guys, have we never been to a college party before? Like, let's go. Let's get a guy on the toilet. Let's get a guy on the sink. Let's get 2 guys in the women's doing the same thing. Like, and then we'll clean up afterwards. Let's go. Let's get out of here. And I was like, and then we stopped. The actual funny part, in my opinion, was stopping at Taco Bell, the drive-through on the way back, and trying to get a 20-year-old to order Taco Bell for an entire van of drunk, hungry, idiot soldiers. And they're all trying to yell. Like one guy in the back's yelling, "I want a goddamn chalupa!" Like all this, and I'm whispering to the soldier like through the back of the seat. I'm just like, dude, we're not taking specialty orders. Just order 20 tacos. I'll help you pay for it, and let's just get out of here. And then from there, like, you give 12, 15 drunk soldiers who are hungry a bunch of Taco Bell tacos. Tacos started getting thrown in between like the front and the back. And start slapping guys in the face that are sleeping, like their drunk stupor off. And like I went to go help clean up the van the next day, dude. It looked like a taco genocide had happened inside the van. Like, just cleaning taco bits up from the roof and everything, like all over the windows. It was a good time.
Well, it's good they had you, Mike. Somebody's got to be an adult around here.
Right.
That's funny.
That's awesome.
But I hope one of you guys has a better story than that.
I
Tell you
can,
what, go ahead.
all right, you got one, Gabe?
No, I don't. Nothing.
Right.
Probably not as good as what you got. Go ahead.
I have a bunch, but this one's a little bit longer, but it's pretty interesting.
Let's go.
It's actually pretty fun. This is the story of when my daughter was born. So it's about sometime in 2005. Ramadi was kicking off pretty bad. I had deployed overseas to, just like I told you in the last story, to do some daytime ops, and then when there was no daytime ops to do, I'd go on the nighttime ops, which were the more kinetic, right? Those kinds of ops. So we went out on a 4-minute sniper op overlooking an area where they've been planting IEDs, and we're going to be out there for about 4 days or something like that. And so we're on the second story of this building. We take turns doing security, sleeping, on the gun, all that kind of good stuff. And then over the radio, they're like, "Hey, we got a Red Cross message for Kelly there," and they're like, "All right, well, we're out of the field in about another 12 hours. Can it wait?" They're like, "Yeah, come on, yeah, whatever." So we get off the op and go back to our base. And they said my wife, who was pregnant, was having problems with her pregnancy. Well, this wasn't the first time for us. It was like the third time we had problems. So the OIC there said, "Hey, you know, you're not part of our team, so you can actually go home if you want. I'm like, yeah, but there's good stuff going. So I was having fun there, right? And they're like, no, you need to go home. So all right, I literally I'm still in my gear. I just grab my bags, loaded them up. We're right there on the, I guess it's the Euphrates. I get them mixed up. Euphrates, but it was in Ramadi. I got on the river, got my rubber. Actually, I had a driver for the rubber boats. You know, the black Zodiacs, and we're going up and down this river. Well, that's what we use to go up and down the river. But there's a marine base called Blue Diamond right down the street right down the river, and so he takes me out, and we're going down the middle of the Euphrates in the middle of the day, and all of a sudden we start taking pot shots from the side over here, and we're in a rubber boat, right? And so this guy is not shooting very good. He's obviously shooting an AK, just right, not doing very good. But you know, it doesn't take much to sink a rubber boat, right? So I had no choice, but I just unloaded a magazine in that general direction. That normally we don't like to do that, but in this case, you want to lay down some fire. So it was just me and the driver, and the driver's driving, and so anyway, I laid on a mag, and I don't know if I hit her or not, anything like that, but the firing stopped. So we made it over to the Marine base. They said we've got a couple of helos going to Al Assad, which is near the Syrian border, out in the desert. Man, it's just nothing but desert. But it doesn't leave until dark. Now at this point, because I was doing all these daytime ops, I was dressing like the Iraqis, like in jeans and a t-shirt. But I also just came off an op, and so I had all of my body armor and stuff like that, and I had this big old beard. I actually had hair back then too, so I looked straight out of CIA, looking like that kind of guy, right, with blue jeans and body armor. And so they didn't know who I was, and so they're like, all right, well, there's got a C-130 going out of Al Assad. You can hop on that one. So we hop in a two-bird stick of 46s, I guess, heading out there, and at dark, they're like, and just the week before, we had two of them just that were taking fire, and one hit each other, and they both went down, and everybody died. So that was our biggest fear: is these guys flying on nods at dark, taking shots, flying into each other and stuff like that. So we actually started taking shots. Fire and tracers were coming up, and so everybody's like sitting on their helmet and like just hoping bad stuff doesn't happen, and they're flying up the earth, and we're starting to barf and all that kind of good stuff. And so we made it to Al Assad. And in one piece, no problem. In there, and they said next cycle of darkness, we got a C-130 coming in. Now, mind you, I had been on the field for about 4 days. It took me a day to get to Al Assad, and I stayed another day in Al Assad. Al Assad was literally just plywood boxes, and that was the barracks, and there was no shower, no nothing. So I had been 6 days without a shower. So I'm in Al Assad.
Right.
Huh? Oh, I was
You're
right.
right.
I was bad. And so C1 guy picked me up. I grabbed my gear, and we went to the airfield. They said Marines are coming in. They're getting off, and you're the only one heading back. And I guess we're going back to the UAE or something like that. And they said, but it's going to be a hot load, so they're going to get off. They're going to keep the props running, and you're just going to hop on, grab your gear, and strap in, and we're gonna go. It's like, okay, cool. And here I am still in the civilian clothes, and everybody's like, what the hell? I mean, who is this guy, right? So Marines come in, they start offloading, and all of a sudden we see, now this is at night, we start seeing a couple flashes in the distance. It's like, now I had been in country for a while, so I knew what that was, and like incoming, so yes, and it was incoming. It started, this incoming mortar attack around around the airfield there, and the pilots and the air crew got freaked out, totally freaked out. They're like, "Get on the plane now, we're leaving." I'm like, and I started getting on the plane. They actually started bringing the ramp up, and I threw my stuff on. And they got on, and the guy looked at me like, "Dude, you got grenades on. You can't come on the plane with grenades." So I grabbed both my grenades, and I turned and I looked. There was an MP down there, and I said, "I don't need these anymore." And I was like, "Here." He's like, "Ah!" He's like, "What do I do with these?" I was like, "Whatever you want."
Whatever you like, bro. It's a gift.
He was freaked out. But so
Don't drop the pins.
yeah, I know. They were taped up, right? But it's still freaky if you're not used to having grenades. So the crew chief was like, "Sit down, strap up, just hold off. We're doing a fast takeoff." And those C-130s, I guess they do these super fast takeoffs where they just go, and that's what we did. It was just like and straight up, and I'm just like holding on. I barely had
Stomachs in
time
your
to.
throat.
Yeah, stomachs in your throat, and my bags, fly all the way back to the back ramp, and they didn't even have time to put it in. So my bags are way back there, and I still got my gun on me, and so after we leveled out, the crew chief came back. He was like, "That was the closest we had mortars going off really close." Well, I'm like, "Oh, whatever." And so anyway, he's fine. He's like, "Hey, we're feet dry and stuff like that." So I grabbed my stuff and made it to UAE. And once we landed, they're like, "Hey, we got a rotator going back in like an hour. You want to hop on that?" I was like, "Yeah." That was, yeah. So rotator went from the UAE to Germany and the Azores, and then eventually I think it was Delaware or something like that. And guess what? No shower. So
Wow.
so I hop
What
on
are
the
we at, like
rotator.
8 days now?
7 days, right? It's about 7
7
days,
days,
no shower. So I'm hopping on all these different places, and we can't even leave the plane because they just refuel and we keep going. We land in Delaware, and they're like, "Hey, you got your credit card? Just get a civilian flight back to San Diego because that's where I was living." And so I was able to hop a flight. Now I've got my, but by now I'd taken off my body armor and all that stuff, and I couldn't download my, my mags or anything like that. But I had gun cases and stuff like that. So me and my 3 bags and 2 gun cases and all this stuff, and one stinky mofo finally hops on this plane, and I get on this plane, and I get this, and I'm just tired. I'm exhausted, right? Get on this plane, and we start. This couple comes in and sitting next to me, and they're young. You could tell they're just married, and she sits right next to me.
Oh man.
And she just sits down, and I just look, and her eyes start tearing, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." And I was like, I just came from combat zone and stuff like that. I haven't had a shower, and I'm sorry. I mean, literally, she's crying. And she looks at her husband like, "Oh, what can we do?" So anyway, I made it back to San Diego. I was picked up at the airport and stuff like that. I was able to get home, take a shower, and then go to the hospital. My daughter was born 24 hours later.
Dang.
And,
Nice.
yeah. So
Wow.
That's the important part, man. You made it home in time.
did,
That is that's bad, man. When you're having the onion effect on people on the airplane, dude, that's pretty rough.
Wow.
It's the Anchorman quote. It's like, it stings the nostrils. And Randy was the person he was the thing that was. It wasn't Sex Panther this time. It was just called Randy.
Oh yeah, the monkey butt, Whew.
Oh, that sounds painful.
It's
Ugh.
the worst, man.
All right, fellas, this has been a great chat tonight. Does anybody have any closing comments you want to make?
I see y'all in Nashville.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
If there's any events in the future that are similar to Saturdays, just manage the emotions. We had one particular kind of situation with emotions in our like little intel chat we were talking about. So when this stuff like happens, just keep in mind that nobody needs the emotions, everybody needs the information.
Yeah.
So
And I do just want to add on that. Build your community where you're at. Know the people around you. Be the person that's level-headed when other people aren't, because it's necessary. And I believe that a lot of the people listening right now have the ability to do that. So be that person. Don't be a part of the problem, and help others around you stay level-headed, because it is going to be an interesting next 6 months. So we're going to need
Yeah.
that.
yeah.
Keep your head on swivel, man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, y'all. Look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, y'all.
Be a
Next
blast.
time.
All right.
See you in
Night, everybody.
Nashville.
See y'all soon.